Good morning, Ghost. Week 10, the week from hell. Holy cow, man. I don't know how
That's
many
a
times
greasy slate.
I don't know how many times I've had to readjust our projections, how many people are going out with COVID, how many people we're waiting on for injuries. Damian Harris out, James Robinson doubtful to go, Kyler Murray doubtful, DeAndre Hopkins doubtful. I think Eli Mitchell's a go, but that is later tonight. Who else is out? I guess who's not out, what we should say, right? Nick Chubb's out. We know that. Kareem Hunt's obviously out. Demetric Felton's out. So Dearness Johnson chalk week. Here we go. Alvin Kamara out. So Mark Ingram
Godwin
chalk
hampered.
week.
Godwin's in, but he's still hurting.
Not good. Chase Claypool out. Ben Roethlisberger out. So I don't know, man. I've had to do like 30 variations of these projections here. But how are we feeling?
It's a greasy one. It's going to be greasier than previous weeks, but still gonna be able to make a ton of money because if we see it that way, then everybody should at least be seeing it that way. So we have a very similar lineup construction for the majority of the field today, going double punt running back. And for me, I'm looking forward to find ways to get off of that outside of cash, of course, because that can blow up in your face real quick. So we've seen that when Gio Bernard was still in Cincy, when he was chalk and he puts up a whopping 3 to 4 DraftKings points. And it's just, you got to remember that it's a week-to-week sport, and it's not similarly to NBA where it's like you can't just have someone walk into a ton of touches. Like if the guy is not built for it, he's not built for it. So for me, it's getting different today with certain spots that everyone's using the same strategy. For me, I want to be doing the opposite because I feel like that's how we'll be able to get to the top of the tournament leaderboards, at least in large field tournaments.
Yeah, so I mean, quick thing here. Let's just get the elephant out of the room. If you're making a cash lineup, which obviously is something that Ghost and I would always recommend, is playing a lot of cash. Mark Ingram and Dearness Johnson need to be in that lineup, right? Plain and simple.
Yeah.
Do that, and then I think in your flex, it's going to be whether or not. I mean, Devontae Adams is a core play for me in cash almost every week. He is again this week. I love the matchup against Seattle secondary. Looks like the weather is going to chill in Green Bay, just be a little bit cold, but that's something that, Devontae Adams and Rodgers have thrived in for years. So those three absolutely are in my pool. Mike Evans probably going to be a core play for me as well. So those four, and then like the thing for me is I want 3 running backs. So for my flex spot, it's either Dalvin Cook or Najee Harris. I think that's the question you need to ask yourself, what you want to do there. But if you don't want to play 3 running backs, I'm sure you could get 4 really good wide receivers and just play Devontae Adams the late game there in your flex, something like that. But you need Mark Ingram and Dearness Johnson in cash, in my opinion. In GPPs, I think it is probably I don't want to say a road for failure, but I just don't see how, 60% of the field is probably going to use that combo. If one of them duds, 60% of the field's already out. There's only 40% of the field remaining, and then, usually 20 to 25% of GPP's cash. So if you fade those two and one of them duds, if they both go off, by all means, and that's your gut feeling is they both go off, use them both. But if one of them fails or they both are, are very underwhelming, 60% of the field is going to be eliminated in GPP. So you just made a GPP a cash game pretty much if you fade them and they dud. There's 40% remaining, and, half of that field is going to get paid. So that's kind of the way I look at it. Hopefully that makes sense. If you got any questions, feel free. But let's dive into this slate. Detroit, Pittsburgh. Detroit, the only person I'm interested in playing is TJ Hawkinson, but it looks like there's bad weather, snow, rain, everything in this game, wind. I just don't really want to get exposure to it. I understand the love for Najee Harris. The guy does have a 95-yard rush prop. Totally understand if you want to ride him. Perfect cash game play. But Deontay Johnson, Pat Freiermuth are out of my player pool in general. Not going to do it. It's just not a spot for me where I want to pay to those guys. Freiermuth is still cheap. So if you trust, Rudolph's not a rookie quarterback or anything like that, but just a safety blanket using Freiermuth, I'm fine if you want to go there. I just don't really see the appeal, don't really see the upside in a game with a 41-point total or 40.5 now. Yeah, 40.5. So that's just ugly. I just want a full fade unless it's Najee Harris. I have no interest in DeAndre Swift. Both defenses are certainly in play here now that Mason Rudolph's starting. And then one little value guy, I liked last night until I really saw this weather is James Washington. That was Mason Rudolph's wide receiver one in college, and they played a lot in the preseason over the past couple of years. So I'm sure they have good rapport, and James Washington will not be fighting with anybody for snaps. So certainly a good value there. I do like him over Tyler Johnson for Tampa Bay, who seems to be pretty popular, but not in love with that situation at all. That is my thoughts on this game. Ghost, what are you feeling?
I was just about to mention James Washington because just to touch on what you were saying about him and Mason Rudolph going to school together, and we saw it in the season where Big Ben went down and Mason Rudolph actually had a ton of starts in a row there, and he was just constantly feeding both Deontay Johnson and James Washington, two guys that he's very comfortable with here. So even if Chase Claypool and Juju, etc., were in this game, they're not. It's not the case. I would still like them because backup quarterback was into the in a situation where he's doesn't have a ton of reps, and now they're looking to simplify the playbook. And for him personally, his own perspective, he's trying to keep things simple himself too, right? So he's going to go to guys that he's familiar with, and right now he doesn't really have a choice because both Juju and Claypool are out for this one. So feeding James Washington and Deontay Johnson the ball in some pretty clean routes should be okay, but large in part, I want nothing to do with this game. And as gross as it sounds, I don't exactly mind playing Lions D. This is by no means a good defensive unit whatsoever, if I'm being nice on a Sunday morning there. I'll phrase it like that. But at 2,300 on DK, if it lets me get guys like Dalvin Cook or Jonathan Taylor in cash with Devontae Adams, with those two running backs that we were talking about, while avoiding punting quarterback, I'm willing to take a shot in cash, especially if, you know what, like defense is such a it's such a position filled with variance where people paying 3,700 for Arizona Cardinals DST, like I get it. They're probably the safest DST on the board, but I refuse to pay 3,700 for a DST. So Lions D at 2,300 for me is my punt this week. If they can go out there and get me 4 points and avoid getting 35 points allowed against Mason Rudolph, I'll take that all day.
Yeah, absolutely. You good with this game? I just don't have much interest anymore at all.
I'm avoiding it altogether. I do get the Hawk love, but I'm not playing any Steelers, including Najee Harris. I'm not playing Najee Harris because there's two running backs that I like that are in the same price bracket as he is.
Awesome. Yeah. Also on XM radio last night, I did talk about the 4 quarterbacks that are going to be, 12 to 15 to 20% owned, and Josh Allen, Tom Brady, Dak Prescott, and Justin Herbert. I think you have to use one of those quarterbacks in cash. With the value that opened up at the running back position using Dearness Johnson and Ingram, we don't need to get any lower on quarterback. This is a can't-miss quarterback week because apparently we can miss running back. We can miss 2 running back spots because everybody's going to use them. So they're free squares, take them. I wouldn't go any lower in cash than those 4, but that brings us to our next game of Tom Brady moving into Washington, total at 50.5. Weather's not an issue at all out east there. Brady's going to be popular. Mike Evans is an absolute core play for me with or without Godwin. I think Godwin's going to be more of a decoy, but going on the outside, Brandon St. Juste and whoever else is going to play on the outside of this Washington secondary. No Montez Sweat either, so the pass rush is going to be very limited for Washington. So I don't see how Brady just doesn't carve these guys up. I do think this is an awesome spot for Leonard Fournette as well. I would have preferred Godwin being out just because that's going to bump up his pass-catching work. We will see Giovanni Bernard, I'm sure, if this game's close. But that's a perfect game script right there. Washington, I think, is 32nd or 31st in pass defense DVOA. They absolutely just bleed production in the passing game. And what is the number one pass-happy offense in football? That is Tom Brady and the Bucs. They throw the ball 40 times a game, whether they're up 17, whether they're down 7. It doesn't matter the game script. They are passing because that is how they are efficient at scoring the football. So, which is Leonard Fournette to the red zone equity there. The guy they throw a deep pass to Mike Evans, pass interference down at the 1. Leonard Fournette could score, could do that twice. Obviously he could break a long run as well, catch a screen pass, anything. Like there is a ceiling game here potential for Leonard Fournette. If you want to look at it that way, there's just going to be relatively no one with this much red zone equity than the Tampa Bay Bucs. But having said that, I don't see a path to where Tampa Bay lays an egg here, and that should just bode very, very well for Terry McLaurin on the other side. I'm sure he's going to get The 80 mile projected at 32% target share today, and Washington, here it is at 37 pass attempts. So that's a lot of work for Terry McLaurin if that comes true. Ricky Seals-Jones certainly in play. J.D. McKissick, I want to throw up just saying his name, but like this is a game script for J.D. McKissick, and I'd never be interested in J.D. unless it is to pivot off of like Dearness Johnson or Mark Ingram. I personally prefer Ingram if I had to. I think most GPP lineups, you probably want one of them anyway, just because it gives you studs in the field. But if you fade all two or both of them, then I'm sure you got a much different lineup than the field. So something to think about there. But JD McKissick, yeah, I guess at 1% ownership, I will take a little bit if it's a full game stack of using, $3, whether that's Tom Brady, Tyler Johnson. It's going to be Mike Evans paired with him no matter what. You could play Godwin if you're crazy. I'm not going to use him. But you could put Fournette in that stack as well, run it back with McLaurin and McKissick. And if this game, it's going to be up pace, like that's a pretty good lineup for that script. But that's really all I have. I think the Bucs D is certainly in play. Washington at 2,100. I don't like it as much with no sweat. No sweat, right? But that's pretty much my thoughts. I think you could play him if you had to, because I have seen some lineups that are pretty sexy, but you have to go down to 2,100. Just pray they get a couple sacks and get you 2 or 3 points, because that's probably the best thing that's going to happen here for Washington.
Yeah, for me, it's Mike Evans all day, all formats. 100% playing him. He's my favorite wide receiver in the mid-range, along with another Colts wide receiver that I really like that absolutely crushed the last couple of weeks for us. So we'll be playing Mike Evans 100% of the way. Outside of that, I don't have much interest in this game. I do like the McKissick pivot that you mentioned from Johnson and Ingram at the running back spot. If you're comfortable with that lineup construction and you want a guy like Devontae Adams and you want to avoid punt wide receivers like James Washington, like Tyler Johnson, etc., McKissick is likely going to be that guy in addition to someone like James Conner, right? So you need to be able to shift your lineup accordingly this week. Like I was saying at the beginning of the show, where you have to get different in GBPs, where if you're playing Ingram and Johnson this week, like everyone will end up going to the same thing. Like at that point, if you're saving that much salary at the running back spot, who are you playing? It's going to be Devontae Adams. It's going to be Mike Evans. It's going to be Dallas wide receivers. It's right. So like everybody ends up landing on the same spot. It's not, the issue is not with playing both Ingram and Johnson together. The issue is that there are not enough options at the wide receiver position to be able to get different. Like for you to get different, you would have to play, and this is coming from the ultimate Titans guy. Like you'd have to play an overpriced AJ Brown and hope that he outscores Devontae Adams. Like at that point, it's not worth it. So like,
what about Terry?
To me, I do like Terry in this spot, and the way that Winfield plays is that he's gonna be able to get him on these deep post routes where he's running towards the sideline, but it's not a 5 to 10 yard outrun. It's a 25 to 30 yard deep post, especially when he goes to that left side. Like he's done it before where he stops on a dime and he has this little 2-3 yard comeback and he gets in front of the football, knowing that Heineke, he's got a good arm, but he doesn't exactly have an absolute cannon of an arm, and he gets underneath the football. And like for me, I do like McLaurin there, but I really have interest in McKissick. You got me interested in like with the lineup construction that we have right now with Ingram and Johnson there. You can't really say, well, let's just pivot to Jonathan Taylor and Dalvin Cook and Najee Harris. Like, no, they're double the price, right? So we still need cheap running backs to play guys like Devontae Adams, to play guys like Mike Evans. And for that, McKissick ends up landing in a ton of my builds, and I'm not exactly opposed to it. Like, I really do like McKissick Evans mini stack this week. Wide receiver for Terry, I do like it. If you're not going McKissick and you are eating that chalk with at least one of Ingram or Johnson, a little McLaurin Evans stack, hoping that this game goes back and forth, can be huge today.
Yeah, I mean, rostering JD McKissick, and I'm doing it too in a couple lineups, mainly like game stacks with this one, but it feels as disgusting as this slate is overall. But yeah, moving on to, are you good for the next game? We got any more thoughts on Tampa?
Yeah, no, we're good.
All right, next game, Buffalo and the Jets. I am cool with playing Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs, and that is it. I have no interest in the Jets run back. Corey Davis is back. I'm not going back to Elijah Moore. even though Elijah Moore won me that Thursday through Monday slate, finally took one down. That was fun. I just started playing those slates this week, and I always just try to find like 0% owned guy, and I was all about Elijah Moore in that matchup against Rock Ya-Sin, which we will talk about shortly for somebody else. But this game for me is Bills D, Stephon Diggs, Josh Allen. That is it. Any thoughts on this game?
I'm going to say what I've said the previous weeks. You play Josh Allen naked, and that's it. I'm not even playing Diggs at this point because
I
he's
just
been
keep
spreading
playing
out the
Diggs
ball.
because the ceiling game's got to come.
It's coming.
I don't want to miss
for
it.
Sure. It's coming for sure, and we can't afford to miss it. But if you're not willing to take that risk in GBPs, this is what I'm pretty sure it was Derek actually that had a ridiculous lineup in the Millie Maker, and then he had a 0 from Emmanuel Sanders. That could be Manny Sanders one week. That could be Cole Beasley one week. That could be Dawson Knox this week, who it's his birthday today. If you're looking for a little fun narrative for a little touchdown prop score at ridiculous odds, you want to put $5 on it. Dawson Knox birthday today. So, but for DFS purposes, it's Josh Allen naked. That's it.
Yeah, you're probably right. Dawson Knox.
That's it.
Here, right?
Yeah.
All right, we got a quick question here. Trent, long time. I feel like we haven't seen a Trent lineup in the chat for a while. Cash, Johnson, Ingram. Who's our quarterback? Oh, pick one. Nice. All right. I should just read instead of assume. All right. Johnson, Ingram, Adams, Evan, Gallup, Arnold, Cook. Pick one. Josh Allen, Panthers, or TB12 Browns. I'm going to go Josh Allen, Panthers. That's a sexy lineup, man. Your only punt play is Michael Gallup, who is also going to be my punt play this week. I'm in. Your call. Josh Allen or TB12?
I like Josh Allen.
Let's go.
In a get right spot. I like it.
Great build there, Trent. Enjoy the cash. If you had something you wanted to buy for the holidays or anything like that, just go spend that money.
Coming this week.
Made it. Yeah, you got it. It's hitting the account tonight. Dan Arnold, McKissick, or Jared Cook, Kyle Pitts.
I don't like.
I personally,
tight end.
Yeah, I don't like the double tight end. The only thing to maybe justify that is Kyle Pitts is more of a wide receiver, but with this much value on the slate, I don't think we need to get that low. I would lean. I don't know. I mean,
if you're going TB12 with Evans, you probably you don't need to force a Washington run back, but McKissick makes more sense.
Yeah, play Ricky Seals-Jones. Play Ricky Seals-Jones at tight end over everybody you mentioned there, and then go get studs everywhere else. You don't need to force McKissick. We're not saying McKissick is a core play by any means. We're just saying if there's any week to pray he outscores the Ernest Johnson, it's this week. All right. So there we go. Buffalo and the Jets. Buffalo defense, perfect spot. I wish it would have. I don't know. Would this have made the slate worse if Zach Moss got ruled out and then we had Singletary chalk too? Who would you? All right. Not gun to head. I hate that phrase. That's not really mentally savory there, if that's even a phrase. I always make up phrases that sound cool. But if you had to choose, let's say Zach Moss is out. This isn't a relevant conversation. Sorry for wasting everybody's time here. But Devin Singletary, Mark Ingram, or Dearness Johnson, what would you have gone with?
Mark Ingram.
Mark Ingram. Okay. I think I would have leaned Singletary. But I was getting ready to do that.
I just think this is the week where Buffalo's going to be up by 28 and Josh Allen is still going to be slinging the ball after what happened last week.
That's fair. Atlanta, Dallas.
And Mark Ingram's also 30-something yards away. Obviously, we need way more than 30 yards, but just putting it out there, Mark Ingram's 30-something yards away from becoming the Saints' leading rusher in franchise history.
Do you think that'll be broken by Taysom Hill one day?
As long if Sean Payton coaches for the next 10 years, yeah, probably.
If a 33-year-old Taysom Hill, or he may be older, I don't know. I'm just full of shit today. I'm sorry, guys. Atlanta, Dallas, total of 54.5. Who's not in play in this game? Let's start there. Is there anybody that's not in play outside of Mike Davis? I mean, he's maybe even in play. He's is that a question? I was looking at that. The snap rate is similar for Mike Davis, but obviously
he's going to get 10 carries and 40 to 50 yards, and he might get in the box.
Is it? I've been thinking about this for a while. Dearness Johnson doesn't grade out that crazy high well for me, and cash again, we're eating it. We get that. Is there any warrant to play Mike Davis at the same price in a game with a way higher total, 13 points higher? I think it is. Is Mike Davis in your pool or no?
In a 150, he would be.
Okay. Like
And at
what? I mean,
150, he
even if you
would be.
play 5% Mike Davis, you're going to be 5 times higher than the field. I don't like Mike
Right.
Davis.
Like
I'm
for
just
me,
saying, like,
it's like, let's say like if you put two lineups side by side and they are the exact same, and the only thing I have to hope for is that Mike Davis has to outscore Dearness Johnson, I can live with that.
yeah, okay. I was just not interested in Mike Davis. I'm saying this with the angle of who is not in play in this game because Zeke
But
Elliott, Cordero Patterson.
all of these running back options for me, it's like it's not like, oh, okay, they're gonna do well. Oh, they're gonna go off. Like it. I just need a 1-for-1 swap. Who's gonna outscore a 40% owned running back in GBPs? Like when
I'm
I'm
with it.
considering guys like McKissick, I'm considering Mike Davis. I'm considering, going $1,000 up to Cordell Patterson or James Conner. Like I just for me, it's will this guy absolutely destroy Dearness Johnson and or Mark Ingram? That is my entire thought process when I'm considering running backs in that price range today. And I do think Mike Davis can outscore him. You need the touchdown swing to go in your favor. That's the only thing. But you can argue that the same thing needs to go in the favor of Dearness Johnson there. That you need him to get in the box.
I mean, Mike Davis is seeing 60% of the snaps, and Patterson's playing way more wide receiver now that Ridley's been MIA. So
He
it makes sense.
has,
It's
and
an interesting pivot.
Mike Davis, although the touches aren't exactly astronomical, he will 100% be on the field the moment they get in the red zone. And that's all we could ask for. He will at least be out there. And the touches have been decently high. It's not astronomical, but the touches have been there, and he will 100% be on the field in the red zone. They're gonna line up. They're gonna line up Cordero outside, and they'll line up Kyle Pitts outside, and then they bring in Mike Davis. And they usually go 3 wide outside Russell Gage in the red zone. Then obviously Matt Ryan's going to throw a touchdown to Zacchaeus or something because that's just the way fantasy football works. But what we can ask for is, again, we just need him to outscore Dearness Johnson. I don't care if he puts up 8 DK. If Dearness Johnson puts up 7.9, you're already ahead of 50,000 people.
Bold take. Mike Davis is in the Millie Maker lineup this week. I'm saying it. All right, moving on to Matt Ryan, Dak Prescott. Honestly, both these guys are in smash spots. Dak Prescott's going to be the highest owned quarterback on the slate for good reason. Literally, who does not destroy Atlanta? Zeke Elliott, really good spot here. I think Atlanta is 26th or 27th in run DVOA. Great spot for Zeke. He's healthy. I know the knee was kind of banged up last week, but my hesitation with Zeke is that there's just so many mouths to feed in Dallas. They can go so many different ways in the red zone. They can go with Schultz. They got Gallup back now. CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper have been quiet lately. Just so many different ways to get there. But they will go to Zeke number 1 in the red zone. If it doesn't work on first or second down, it's probably the end of Zeke there in that red zone drive. But I actually can't believe Cordero Patterson is low owned now that he's playing in a game with the highest total on the slate, and his price is still reasonable. The guy's like a walking 18 points. I personally don't understand it. I just hate the running back tag, I guess. He really doesn't play running back, but
on FanDuel, he's actually multi-position eligible. You could play him at either one too.
Damn.
It's pretty funny.
It's
pretty
play
funny.
Him the forward spot or
that's pretty funny.
Yeah, so I mean, it's a really good spot for Cordell Patterson, man. You could pick on every part of Dallas's defense, in my opinion. And Tyron Smith's out still, so that's another thing that's going against Zeke. But Zeke catches passes and could break one, so you know what you're getting with Zeke, especially when the total's 55. No one in this game has more touchdown equity than Zeke Elliott, but I love CeeDee Lamb at this price. I think that's an excellent pivot off of Deontay Johnson. I'm sure a lot of you guys are really interested in Deontay Johnson. Now you can go to, in my opinion, there's 3 guys that I pivot off of because I took Deontay out of my player pool. Like I said, I went to DK Metcalf, Mike Williams, and CeeDee Lamb are the 3 guys I kind of spread them out to because I did like Deontay a ton with Ben in there. Amari Cooper, super, super cheap. Do you have any love for Russell Gage here?
No.
At 5K. I wish he was like 4,500, 4,200, something like that.
It's more of a price thing because I'm just going up to Judy at 5,300. That's it's not that he's a bad play. It's just I just keep going up to Judy for $300 more every time.
Yeah. You can absolutely just stack this game every single way. Kyle Pitts, a great spot. I'm not paying for Dalton Schultz at 5K. I'm speculating.
I wish he was like 4 to 4. Like if he was just slightly priced higher than guys like Dan Arnold and Pat Fry and like guys like that, I'd be all over Dalton Schultz right now. But at 5K, it's just, how can you justify that?
I'm speculating that Gallup's going to take some targets away from him too. It's just too many guys. Like Cedric Wilson played a lot of snaps, but he did not get many targets. Michael Gallup does, usually get like a 14 to 18% target share, which at 4K makes him my favorite punt play of the week. But I don't love going down there. But yeah, Gallup is going to be a cash lock for me just because I have to. I would love to tell you he's safe in cash. He's really not. But at 4K, the rest of my lineup I absolutely love. So I'm going with it. But any other thoughts on this game other than that it's one of the best games there is to stack out there? And you guys all know who to play. Like the key stakeholders in this game. We don't need to talk about it a ton.
The one guy that's, I don't want to say a wild card for me today, but a guy that I'm higher on this week more so than previous weeks is CD. A ton of snaps coming in the slot for CD with 3 wide receiver sets. And that's the way that this offense was made to be ran, with Zeke in the backfield, Dalton Schultz lining up at the line, 3 wide receiver set with CD in the slot. CD could have an absolute field day if Michael Gallup is 100% a go. And when I say that, it's not that he's active. I mean that he will get a high percent of the snaps. If they're running 3 wide receiver sets all day long, CD Lamb will absolutely feast today. So that's the one guy when deciding among all the mouths to feed. I get it. He's the highest priced one. It's way easier to go to Amari Cooper. And everyone knows how I feel about Amari Cooper as a Cowboys fan and just in general about Amari Cooper. I absolutely love Amari Cooper every single week. But this is the week where I'm actually prioritizing CD, because if they're running 3 wide receiver sets and it's CD against a nickel corner all day long, oh boy, he's going for 120 in a score.
Someone is going to score a deep ball on Fabian Moreau, Moreau, however you say his last name. That dude,
it has to be
bad.
CD. I don't see how he doesn't eat in this matchup. They're
CD
going to force feed him the ball. Yeah,
Gallup too. Gallup. All right, well, let's go. I think CD is an excellent play this week. I wish he was going to be like 5 to 10% owned, like we were seeing earlier when everybody was playing Deontay. He'll be a little bit more popular, but everybody's going to go just the cheaper Amari Cooper, and I think CD has way more upside here in this matchup. Like Go said, I could not echo that any more than he just touched on that game. Moving on to New Orleans, Tennessee. Mark Ingram and the Saints defense are the only players I care about in this game. I get A.J. Brown, but I'm not playing it at all.
Next game.
Next game. All right. Well, real quick, I think both of us like Mark Ingram more than Dearness Johnson. So I think in GPP,
100%.
Them both. Yeah.
100%.
Can we get some captioning on here? That'd be cool. I don't know if closed captioning could hear my rants and my phrases that I make up though. All right, moving on then. So we both love Mark Ingram in comparison to Dearness Johnson, but Dearness Johnson has some really good props too. He's like minus 135 to score. Like it's not a bad play. I just don't want to mess with Bill Belichick, but we'll get to that game in a second. All right, sneaky game in my opinion. Jacksonville going to Indy. I think Jacksonville is catching 10 points here, maybe 10.5, depending on your sports book. I do think they cover here, but one of my favorite sleeper GPP plays of the day is Marvin Jones. The same reason I liked Elijah Moore, the same reason we loved A.J. Brown a couple weeks ago. Pick on the Colts secondary. They are trash, especially Rock Ya-Sin, who is going to try to cover Marvin Jones. Marvin Jones got
He's so bad.
Receiving prop of like 45 yards. Hammer that. But yeah, dude, Marvin Jones at 1 to 2% ownership is absolutely in play here. And you just run a little mini stack with one of the core running backs on this slate and in the NFL now is Jonathan Taylor. Seems like this dude is just catching fire. And, there's no one more capable of breaking an 80-yard touchdown run out of nowhere now that Derrick Henry is out for the season than Jonathan Taylor. Do you got any love for Carson Wentz, Michael Pittman, that side of this game? I did write up a 1% owned Trevor Lawrence just because, I don't want to tell you guys, I love Trevor Lawrence by any means. Hell no. The dude can get 10 points and I wouldn't be surprised. But large field GPP, Trevor Lawrence and Marvin Jones, lets me afford a lot, and it gets me off of that double running back chalk of Mark Ingram into Ernest Johnson. I will be certainly running it back with Jonathan Taylor. You could put Michael Pittman in there, but large field really only for me there. But the rest of your lineup is so sexy if you use a 5.3K quarterback in Trevor Lawrence and a wide receiver 1 priced under 6K and Marvin Jones. And nobody's going to play these guys too. So it's ugly. If you could stomach it, that is just like my 1% conviction of the week. I always want to give you something that's not, something that anybody else is on really. So that's where I'm going there. I will, I'm not playing Jamal Agnew at all. I get the volume, but I don't see the upside. It's Marvin Jones only for me. I'm not playing Laviska anymore right now. I don't get why they don't use him, but no one has the upside in that offense as Marvin Jones.
I really do want to add Dan Arnold to the fold as well.
Yeah, that's a good call. He's a really good tight end value.
Yeah, at 3,500, the targets have been 18 in the last 2 weeks. So whether it's garbage time, whether it's in the first quarter, I don't care. A 3.5K tight end, just don't burn me. And I think that Dan Arnold is likely the safest option there now that Pat Fry has... Yeah, and Pat Fry now has Mason Rudolph throwing in the ball. So Dan Arnold will be my pivot without changing my build there. Is Jonathan Taylor still 5 to 10% owned?
No, I'm seeing like 15, which is perfect. That's where he should be, right in the middle. Not 30, not 10.
Right, so JT, now it's getting up there a little bit, but Jonathan Taylor is my favorite running back on the slate. Everyone,
at least, I believe Sia's as well. I think that's Sia's guy too, and I think Jason loves him as well. So
Jonathan Taylor is my favorite running back on the slate. I get the ownership.
Running back with Marvin Jones, dude. Running back with Marvin Jones.
Absolutely have to. And when I was saying that I need a 5K wide receiver, and I kept going to Judy, when I was switching Dalvin Cook and Judy, not that that's the same game, it's not a stack at all. I'm just saying price bracket wise. When I was switching Dalvin Cook for JT and I was switching Judy for a certain somebody, went right to Rock Yassin, and it could have been whoever else was lining up on Rock Yassin. That would have been the matchup that I'm picking on all day long. So that is one of my most utilized mini stocks in GPPs right now, because I don't see how Trevor Lawrence doesn't have to throw the ball 45 times today. Like, they're going to be chasing points for over 50 minutes in this game. How does he not throw the ball 45 times? Add in the fact that James Robinson is now doubtful to play. Or you're gonna pound the rock with Carlos Hyde? This isn't 2006. Like, you gotta trust Lawrence to throw the ball and keep you in this game. So I'm not playing Lawrence, but I do like Marvin Jones a ton in a mini stack with Jonathan Taylor. That is one of my most utilized mini stacks in GPPs right now.
Love it. Any other thoughts on this game? Anybody else from Indy? I have no interest in T.Y. Hilton. I did love Pascal until T.Y. Hilton's playing, but James Robinson looks like
I still like Michael Pittman. I still like, just the ceiling takes a bit of a hit with T.Y. back. But again, Wentz is so familiar with him that he's still going to get double-digit targets. And I believe he's second in the league right now in targets. So, like, he's been absolutely feasting. At only 6,300, both he and Mike Evans are very hard for me to get away from. I'm keep going back to both those guys.
Nice. And Robinson in. We have no interest there. I'm not going to mess with it, but so I think that game offers a little sneaky bit of shootout, because the Colts seem to be playing up pace and their defense can't stop anybody. Even who the hell was the quarterback that came in for the Jets last week?
It was Jacoby.
We played it in the XFL. Yeah, he got hurt. Who was the other guy? Someone's got to tell me his name, right? Who's got to know? I don't know.
Oh my God. I'm drawing a blank.
Yeah. Oh, well. All right. Moving on. Cleveland and New England. Dearness Johnson chalk week. We already covered that. Jarvis Landry, Jacoby Myers are nice value plays. I just don't want to play this game at all. The pace is going to be so slow. Total is going to be low. I do like Jarvis Landry's receiving prop again, like Josh Johnson. That's it. Thank you.
There we go.
Josh Johnson
JJ.
from XFL.
JJ.
Jarvis Landry's receiving prop is pretty low. So I do like that. I think it was like 51.5 yards. I think Belichick certainly is going to scheme to stop the run. That's what he always does, is stop the number one threat of the opposing offense. That is the run for Cleveland. I think he says, Baker, try to beat me. That should bode well for Jarvis Landry, but this game's just going to be so ugly in pace. I like both defenses, and that's about it, other than Dearness Johnson, of course, for cash, and GPP if you're feeling that.
Next game. This one's really gross. I'm not touching it with a 10-foot pole.
Carolina, Arizona.
Outside.
James Conner, next game.
Next game.
I like both defenses, I guess. They're both.
By the way,
Carolina's
just this is completely unrelated to DFS at all. This is just for you and I. I just really hope PJ Walker throws for like 500 yards and 7 touchdowns today.
Are you gonna play him then? That's a hell of a projection.
No. He was so fun to watch in the XFL. That's it. No, naked time. Hell no.
All right, let's get a couple questions because we're flying through today. Johnny Smith out too. That's, I mean, if you want to play Hunter Henry, dude's got a shit ton of red zone equity, so I don't blame you there. He's gonna score.
I feel like Hunter Henry has a 2 for 21 stat line every single week. 2 catches, 20 yards, and a touchdown every week. I feel like that is like he gets 10 points every week.
What are your thoughts on this lineup? I want to get off Freiermuth, probably move to Dan Arnold or Jared Cook and upgrade Judy, but I'm fine with Judy and cash. But I think you need that hammer running back we are talking about here.
So that's the reason why I'm not playing.
And you don't need Metcalf in cash, do you?
No, that's the thing, right? So I like Metcalf for GPPs, but I'm not playing 4 wide receivers in cash because you need the 2 chalk running backs, and then you need one of Dalvin Cook, Jonathan Taylor, or Najee Harris. So that's why I'm only going 3 wideouts. So Metcalf is the one that's on the outside looking in for me in that lineup.
The Browns did activate Brian Hill to be the RB2 today, so that's fun.
That's gross.
Yeah.
Oh, that's gross.
All right.
You got wicked flashbacks of that whole Ito Smith, Brian Hill fiasco in Atlanta. Oh, my God.
That was a bad backfield. All right, Philly, Denver. Philly, Denver. I don't have a lot of interest in this game at all. Jared Judy's in a really good spot. We always like to pick on Avonte Maddox. I just worry about the pace in this game. Seems like Philly, Matt, maybe you want to chime in here and give us a Philly rundown today, but it seems like Sirianni does not really trust Jalen Hurts anymore with how much they're running the football. But Jalen Hurts has been 15% owned on every single slate. Now he's like 2%. Does that do anything for you or no? He could run for 100 yards and a score and get 25 points.
I was just about to say that the only way I do it is if I'm playing him naked because I don't want him throwing the football. I want a Lamar Jackson-esque stat line.
So
I don't want
to play him or no?
I do. At 1%, I do.
I think he's worth a GPP flyer as well. I put it in the chat yesterday. It's like something tells me it's Jalen Hurts is just way.
Would it surprise you in the least to see Jalen Hurts put up 25 DK today? Would you be like, oh wow,
not at all.
That's ridiculous.
No, see, the thing for me though is who do I pair him with? Do I pair him? I just,
I'm not pairing him with anybody.
All right, I kind of like the Devonta Smith and then running it back with Jerry Jeudy. I think that's the way that Devonta or Jalen Hurts has a ceiling game is, if Denver can keep the pace, but I don't know.
He has 40 rushing attempts in the last 4 weeks.
Yeah. And there's no Von Miller, so maybe that's anti-rushing him is just because the pass rush won't be as good, but they certainly were good last week in Dallas, so I don't know. Gallup good for DK cash. David, I wouldn't say good, but he is in my cash lineup. I'm taking it because it gives my lineup the rest of the floor that I want. He'll be my one punt play. So, yeah, I think he's good for cash. He's not very safe, but guys got receiving props like 42 yards, 3.5 catches. So if you need to go that low, Gallup, and I personally have to go that low because my lineup looks a lot like yours does. I'm going to Gallup. So just to be clear with you there, we will ride together, even though you're a Cubs fan, and that's a bummer. But moving on to the next game, Minnesota and the Chargers. Absolutely by far my favorite game on this slate. I absolutely love Justin Herbert. I hate that everybody's on him now because we were on Justin Herbert Island last week, and such a good week. So many screenshots from you guys. We love seeing everybody succeed. It was so much fun. Kirk Cousins on the other side.
With the Devonta Smith run back. With the
Devonta Smith run back. That was all you. So shout out, dude. We absolutely hit the nuts with that game. So it was so many screenshots, a great lineup. Someone won 5K. And then, it's awesome. But this offense is so up pace. It's what they're going to do. Minnesota's secondary is banged up. Their defense as a whole, I think Anthony Barr's out again. The Vikings should be in a really good spot here. I'm not usually a Kirk Cousins guy, but the Chargers defense is arguably more banged up than Minnesota. I'll look up who's out for them, but I know yesterday it's looking like 4 to 5 guys could be out for that defense. So this game's go back and forth, and it's not going to stop. The Chargers are going to play up pace. They don't like to run the ball. They like to put the ball in Herbert's hands and just spread it out. I think on the outside, Mike Williams is in for a early season Mike Williams game. I know we weren't playing him at 7,600, 7,700, 7,800, but now he's got Bashaud Breeland on the outside there and Cam Dancer, and he is going to smash. Keenan Allen on the inside with Mac Alexander. It's fine play. I think Keenan Allen's more of a cash play for me. Last week, we loved it because of Vontae Maddox. We talked about how that is a ceiling type of atmosphere. I don't see a ceiling atmosphere for Keenan Allen this week, and he took a beating last week. What do you have, like 12, 13 catches, and just got laid out on like 3 or 4 of them. Stayed in, did his first
running
down
over
point.
the middle every time. Like, it was classic Keenan Allen route every time, and he was just getting popped. Like, drive after drive, he was getting popped.
Harrison Smith likes to hit too. Mac Alexander's no slouch. So I think I want to pair him with Mike Williams more than Keenan Allen, but I will not argue with you if Keenan's your guy. You could ride the hot hand there. Jared Cook against a cover 2. We love tight ends against a cover 2. He's only 3,200. So Dan Arnold is now more expensive than Jared Cook. I would rather go to this game and play Jared Cook and get exposure to this really high total. And this game is going to be very popular. Tyler Conklin at 3,400, another really good GPP pivot off of Dan Arnold chalk. You could stack this game in so many ways. And Delvin Cook is a core play for me in addition to Mike Evans and Devontae Adams, which we talked about earlier. And Mark Ingram is going to be the other one just because I have to choose one of those two and I don't want to play both in GPPs. So that's kind of my GPP core 4, I guess, is I had Jared Cooks in there too, just because I want in any lineup, if I'm not full game stack in this one, I want a piece of Minnesota and I want a piece of Chargers on both sides. So my lineup key goes up as this game shoots out because there's going to be no defense in this game. So Dalvin Cook, smash spot. What are your thoughts on this one? I know I didn't really talk about Eckler. He's a great GPP play today as well. This game's just awesome.
It is. And
Justin Jefferson. Sorry. Love Justin Jefferson. When we were talking about Devontae Adams and pivots off of that, Justin Jefferson. Dude, you can make a sick lineup with Herbert or Kirk, whatever you want to do there. Justin Jefferson, Dalvin Cook, Keenan Allen or Mike Williams, and Jared Cook. Or Conklin, whatever you want to do. Like, just get tons of pieces to this game, and you're going to do really, really well today. But go ahead. Talk about Jeff.
You're killing me.
I like that we're on the same page, man.
Yeah, same thing last week. You gotta get behind these Chargers linebackers in front of the safeties. Nobody does that as well as anybody on this Minnesota offense. Go Tigers. Justin Jefferson called it last week. Went for a 52-yard score on one of the very first drives of the game. Justin Jefferson absolutely smashes again this week. And same goes for Tyler Conklin. Another big target over the middle for them. So I really do like that call. Dalvin Cook has the absolute stone nuts of a matchup here, but I am just so invested in Jonathan Taylor that I just can't look back at this point. So at this point, it's a coin flip for me. You can get the exact combo, Dan Arnold and Dalvin Cook, or you can go Jonathan Taylor and Ty Conklin. So for me, it's a very interchangeable $100 pivot there at the tight end / running back position for my stud running back that I want. I really do like JJ, Conklin, Dalvin. By default, I'm playing a bit of Kirk just because. Chargers side, it is a Mike Williams week. I like Mike Williams over Keenan Allen this week. And as much as I don't think I've ever said those words, but I do like Mike Williams better than Keenan Allen this week. And I think Austin Eckler is in a get right spot. The absolute stone chalk last week. And now he's still relatively high owned, but again, with everybody going up to Dalvin Cook or Najee Harris, I think that ownership comes down a little bit. So with Austin Eckler at 7,600 and Justin Jefferson at 7,700 on DK, some really, really interesting pivots to Devontae Adams and Dalvin Cook / Najee Harris. I love this game. Absolutely.
Yeah, I literally like every single player in this game. Thielen's in play, but I'm just going to Justin Jefferson. If he's going to be 5% owned, I'm finding a way to get the best wide receiver on that team. And that's
I
Justin
do have
Jefferson.
a lineup fading Davante Adams for JJ, and that's what I
think that's
did
fine,
last
man.
week. Who did? Was it last week? Was it? It wasn't Davante.
Last week was Baltimore. Well, what are you saying?
No. Oh, it was Tyreek Hill. Last week we said that Justin Jefferson will outscore Tyreek Hill at 5%.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
To like 40% for Tyreek Hill, and that all it took was one play. All it took was one play, and I think today I don't want to go that deep by saying that Justin Jefferson will outscore Davante Adams, but I think it's going to be pretty close, and it would not surprise me to see him outscore Davante Adams.
You could probably get both if you do want to eat the double chalk running back. You could probably get both.
But you just can't get Mike Evans at that point. I don't know if you could get Mike Evans.
I'm going back to Justin Herbert, unfortunately. So, I mean, fortunately,
no reason not to. It's such a good spot.
I know. I just hate playing I hate when my main quarterback's like over 10% in ownership. I like to find the 4 to 5% guys and they smash and it's easy. But now I got to get different elsewhere.
Jalen Hurts.
No, in large field, sure. Last game of the week.
Why don't you play the flip side of this game? Would you, instead of playing, it seems like Herbert's the stone chalk there.
No, absolutely. I got a ton of Kirk.
Yeah, you play Kirk with JJ and then run it back with Mike Williams. Like just flip our quarterback wide receiver stack. Just flip it to the other side of the game.
Certainly, and that's cheaper too. You could afford. You probably don't need a punt play when you do that.
Yeah.
All right. What about this last game? We got 2% owned Aaron Rodgers and a 2% owned Russell Wilson. Welcome back. Total of 50.5 points. Looks like the weather is clear and good to go. Devontae Adams chalk week for good reason. Always should be, but he'll see a lot of Ugo Amandi on the inside. That's another matchup we kind of like to notate, just like Avonte Maddox. But really, I mean, tons of firepower in this game. You know who to play. If you like it, I'll let you talk about this game and the likely game script. But Rodgers, Wilson, Aaron Jones, Alex Collins is even a pivot off of Dearness Johnson and Mark Ingram. If you find a way to get up to 5,200, much better game script for a guy like Alex Collins here. I don't know if I'm technically in on him, but I'm just, again, trying to uncover ways that get different. We did mention Mike Davis, which is gross. Go throw up if you have to. But Alex Collins is certainly one of those guys. Adams, Metcalf, Lockett, easy for me. You could maybe play Valdez Scaling at 3,500 if you want another punt play that's not Tyler Johnson or James Washington or Michael Gallup. And then Gerald Everett at 2,600. I have no interest there. But this game certainly has a lot of fireworks. But the thing for me is the Packers play so damn slow, and Seattle hasn't been very up-paced. But obviously Geno Smith was there. But I don't know. I just don't have a great read on this game, but I know there's a ton of firepower. So I do like getting one side of each game, whether it's Aaron Jones, I think is an excellent GVP play, and running it back with Lockett or Metcalf. Metcalf is under 7K. This dude is a freak. He's the highest priced wide receiver on FanDuel, though, which is awesome. And then 6,800 on DraftKings. So, I mean, I like a lot of guys in this game. I haven't seen myself make a game stack on this one personally, just because I've been so invested in Minnesota and the Chargers. Can this game break the slate?
No, but one of my favorite large field only plays comes in this game, and it's Aaron Jones. I really like Aaron Jones today a lot.
Okay.
I think with Rodgers under center, running backs against Seattle, this is going to be a vintage Rodgers in the snow performance. You already see it coming with everything that's happened in the last 10 days. You already see it coming that Green Bay is going to go bonkers today. Russell Wilson back. Hopefully he's actually 100% healthy. DK Metcalf should be feasting on the secondary. And man, if you want to play a very I like this game, it's very boomer bust. And I don't know if there's a bigger boomer bust player in all of fantasy football than Tyler Lockett.
Yeah.
So that's one guy that, like, if you are making this your main stack, and it is very boomer bust, not just because of the weather, but because of how slow Green Bay has been playing, and just that where most of the production is going to, like a good 9% of the production is going to Davante Adams and Aaron Jones. And on the flip side with Seattle, it's kind of Alex Collins can go wild, etc. That Russell Wilson's first game back in a long time. It's very boomer bust, and why not take a good amount of the biggest boom or bust player in all of fantasy football in Tyler Lockett. 0% owned right now.
Yeah, no, it's
That's the
you could
one
get
thing I'll
game
say
sack
about
this
this
game. No, I'm with it, man. I love Lockett and I love DK Metcalf. It's just I don't know when I can afford them, but DK Metcalf at 6,800 on DraftKings is just way too cheap.
Like
if
think
you play
about it.
both
If
running backs, maybe that's a way to get different too.
Right, like with everybody playing Devontae Adams, right? Like now we get it for cash. You need the 2 chalk running backs. You need Devontae Adams. You need a stud running back, whether it be Najee, Dalvin Cook, or Jonathan Taylor. And I'm likely going with Dak Prescott as my quarterback. We've been over that. Everything's good to go there. But now we're talking like GPP mindset. If everybody is playing Devontae Adams, like what do you want out of Devontae Adams here? You want a solid 100-yard, 8 catches, 100 yards, and multi-touchdown game for Devontae Adams to really pay off, right? Because if these chalk running backs don't do well, which is what, again, I'll keep going back to what I was saying at the beginning of the show, everybody lands on the exact same build, or at least a ton of the same combinations. It's Dearness Johnson, Mark Ingram, and then I'm paying up for Devontae Adams right away. So even if you're getting away from the chalk running backs, you can also, I'm not saying you absolutely have to, I'm just saying entertain the possibility of not playing Devontae Adams also. And if you are playing Devontae Adams, which is 100% okay in GPP for very obvious reasons, I think you almost need a run back. Because what do you need from Devontae Adams to go bonkers in a GPP? You need him to be scoring multiple touchdowns. How does he do that if the Seahawks are going 3 and out on every drive? Right. So that's kind of the GPP mindset that I have when talking about this game, is that number one, I'm not playing the chalk running backs in GPP. If I am playing one, it's Mark Ingram. We've already settled that. But if you are doing that, it's everybody lands to the same combination. I'm paying up for Devontae Adams right away. There's no Kelsey, no Tyreek Hill, no Waller to pay up for at a very scarce tight end position. There's none of these guys on the slate. Everyone's playing Devontae Adams in GPP. So if you're eating that chalk, you need him to go absolutely nuclear. And I don't see how he does that without one of Tyler Lockett or DK Metcalf keeping pace.
No,
which alludes to my Justin Jefferson pivot from Devontae Adams. But
I love it, man. All right, let's get a couple quick questions here. Dylan, thoughts? Not for me. I'm more on Aaron Jones. Anything for you there?
No, it's hard pass for me. I really like Aaron Jones today.
Brandon Bolden, I'll never just roll the dice on a Bill Belichick running back. I have no idea now that Stevenson's in. I have no idea what to think. I don't want to invest in that, but if you got a feeling, ride it. Herbert, JJ, Mike Will, Russ, DK Adams. I'm going to go with Herbert, JJ, Mike Will, just because I know that game is going well over the total. But Russ, DK Adams is pretty sexy
Justin
too.
Jefferson today.
Can you do each? Do one of each. Go get a 3-entry max. Play that.
Do a 3 max and do one of each, and then do another double dip with the Chargers Vikings stock, except flip it. Do a Cousins, JJ, Conklin, or Cook, depending on where you want to spend your money. Do Cousins, JJ with one of Dalvin Cook or Conklin, and then run it back with Mike Williams.
Is this season long or DFS? Let us know, because that's a big difference there. Harris is out. All right, AJ Brown or Allen? Yeah, give us some context if you don't mind, please. Need a 4.9 flex. Kirk, Dalvin Cook, Mark Ingram, Justin Jefferson. All right, Jerry Jeudy, Mike Will, Dallas Goedert, Jags D. Mark Ingram, you already have. I mean, I think that's different enough to where you can play Dearness Johnson. Kirk's 2%. Justin Jefferson's going to be 5%. Mike Will is going to be 5 to 10%. I think you're fine.
What if you do?
I like the Jeudy Goddard back and forth there.
I'm gonna mention like you have to run a second lineup to do this there, because it's going to be a lot of changes. I don't even know if it adds up salary wise, but if you go Conklin at tight end instead of Goddard, and then you lose Cook for Jonathan Taylor, and then you come off Jags defense for whichever defense that you want, let's say Lions, and then you put Marvin Jones in the flex. So you're swapping your Goddard Jeudy mini stack for a Marvin Jones, Jonathan Taylor, mini stack.
I like it. All right. QBs. 1 cash, 1 GPP. What do you got? Top cash, top GPP.
Dak for cash and GPP. I'm going with. I'll leave you Herbie. I know he's your boy. I'll take a ridiculously under-owned Kirk Cousins this week.
For sure. All right. I think that's pretty good. I'm going Herbert and Herbert. Dak for cash is going to probably need the $400 savings, but yeah, I'm going back to love Herbert. Hate to see the ownership go up, but I'm playing Herbert. Running back, cash GPP. What do you got?
Cash, it's the chalk duo, Dearness Johnson and Mark Ingram. And for GPP, I'm going to give a couple names. James, this is pretty much my entire player pool at the running back position. James Conner, Cordarrelle Patterson, Aaron Jones, Jonathan Taylor, Dalvin Cook. That's my entire player pool at the duo. I'm not playing the chalk duo in GPPs.
For sure. No, I get you there. The duo in cash, Dalvin Cook in cash for me and Dalvin Cook in GPP. I guess honorable mention, I'll stick to it. Mike Davis scores a touchdown. I think on DraftKings he's plus 275 to score. So that's my exposure to Mike Davis. But
I'm gonna go bet that now. In support, dude. I'm gonna go bet that.
FanDuel's got it like plus 170. I have it priced at like plus 185, but it's a lot of value for me. So I'm gonna take it right now. Dalvin Cook week for me. Wide receiver cash for me is, this we're not going to change much here, but Devontae Adams and Mike Evans are my 2 core plays for cash. Absolutely. GPP, it's Justin Jefferson or Terry McLaurin.
Cash, I'm going Devontae and Mike Evans. And for GPP, you're going right back to the wall with Herbie. I'm going right back to my gem from last week in Justin Jefferson. And I'm also going to play Michael Pittman a ton. And let's not forget Marvin Jones.
That's my GPP guy.
Marvin Jones.
Marvin Jones season. Tight end. What do you got for cash? What do you got for GPP?
For cash, I'm going Dan Arnold or Conklin. Whoever's, to those that are listening, you will end up picking. I think both will land on a very similar amount of points. So I'm cool with Conklin or Arnold in cash. And in GPP, I am going with Hawkinson, or that's going to be for large field. And for my main lineup, I'm playing Conklin with my Minnesota stock.
Conklin's a nice one, man. Cash for me is going to be Jared Cook, as I mentioned. GPP, I loved Hawkinson until this weather. I do want to find a way to get Kyle Pitts. That is a game that's going to have a ton of fireworks. And I think Jason set it up here. Kyle Pitts doubles any other tight end. Yeah, I mean, the dude's a wide receiver. The tight end spot sucks this week. So finding a way to Pitts, he'll be popular, but not like anything too crazy. He's at 5,800. This dude could go absolutely nuts and be the wide receiver 1 on the Atlanta Falcons today in a game with a 55-point total. So love that. That's pretty much it. We'll get a couple, or what do you get? You already win, right? Conklin's GPP.
Yeah, it's Conklin for me. Hawkinson is like extremely large field, like a million maker type of play for me. But even now with the weather, it's going to be a hard pass. So it's Conklin or Arnold. I think both of them end up doing well today.
This is a great lineup, Brian. I think this is awesome.
That's with the pivots that he just made the pivots. So just come off Jags D, because you have Jonathan Taylor now. You want him putting up 30 DK there for you.
Yeah, every time he scores a touchdown, you're getting 2 points instead of 7 or 8.
So what did he say? He has 5.6 for flex. I think I saw that. Yeah, 5.6 for flex. So go from Jags D to just put Lions in for now. And that leaves you what? 5.3. You could still play Judy.
Or Alex Collins. That's too crazy though. But yeah. All right.
Yeah, just go Judy with Lions D. Or you could even I really don't like double tight end, but Kyle Pitts is not a tight end. So you could even get Pitts in that game.
Dak, Johnson, Ingram, Evans, Judy, Arnold, Cook, Lions. Roll with it. Good build. Yeah. Yeah, A.J. Brown. That was my answer to the A.J. Brown Keenan thing. I do like A.J. Brown a little bit today. I'm not paying that price. I'd rather go to Justin Jefferson or McLaurin personally, but if you like A.J. Brown, roll with it. All right, Ghost.
It's going to be a big week. I feel
That's week 10. It's going to be gross somewhere. That was my go-to Pitts Jets. Brian, you're always doing some crazy stuff, man.
Jets
I love it.
Wow. I love it. So bold.
Don't.
So bold to win a tournament with negative points from your defense. But if anyone could do it, it's you, Brian. So
1 p.m. cash only. Chris, did you put a lineup in here? Oh, here we go. And all right, for single entry, is it Harris, Ingram, Johnson, or go or come off one of the value guys? For single entry cash, then yes, that is absolutely fine. For GPP, I think you want to get over. Let's see. My core is Dalvin Cook, Devontae Adams, Mike Evans, Mark Ingram, Jared Cook. Yes, sir. The brothers Cook. That is also my cash core, but I may, I will certainly get off Devontae Adams to go to Justin Jefferson and to game stack that game. But yeah, I mean, you could take Devontae Adams out of there, and that is certainly my core there. Cook, Evans, Ingram. But Devontae Adams certainly in cash. All right.
That's right.
Let's see. Chris, is Chris posting a lineup? I'm just waiting for him. He had the question on the 1 p.m. only cash. Interesting slate to play too, because everybody's just going to play Atlanta, Dallas there. We got it. Here we go. Josh Allen, Dearness Johnson, Mark Ingram, Cole Beasley, Michael Pittman, Evans, Arnold, Najee Harris. Yeah, I think that's awesome. Are you on Beasley at all? I'm just never a Beasley guy, but
no. But in the 1 p.m. games, because my wide receiver 3 in cash is Judy.
Yeah,
who plays at 4? He plays at 3. So if you need another noon guy, Beasley's ownership is going to be pretty high. So for cash, I get it, and it's not bad to have one pairing with Josh Allen there.
Mason Rudolph's ownership, I have no idea. I hope it's 0, and it should be 0.
Yeah.
So let's roll with that. All right. Thank you guys very much. Good luck today. We'll see you in Discord. Excited for 3 weeks in a row of monster screenshots, hopefully. Let's get after it, and thank you guys for the support. Ghost, killer job today, man. I appreciate you.
Always a pleasure, bro.
All right. Good luck, and peace out, everybody.